I'm Justin Benson. I'm one of the owners of Gallup Coffee Company here in Gallup, New Mexico.
Hi, I'm Tiffany, and my husband Justin and I own Gallup Coffee Company.
We weren't really planning on opening a coffee shop, but it sort of just happened, and it was a perfect opportunity and great learning experience, and it has definitely paved the way for a couple other ventures that we're working toward. We figured that there was definitely a need for a shop that could bring creatives together and help to foster new relationships. So we decided to take the plunge and open up a coffee shop here. The stars aligned, and we opened up Gallup Coffee Company. I grew up with parents that drank Folgers and Maxwell House and a whole lot of cream and sugar, and as I started to get older, the coffee shops on the East Coast were definitely a place for younger people to go out and socialize, and so going to these coffee shops I was introduced to things like cappuccinos and lattes and different origins of coffee, different flavors of coffee, and go into roasting our own beans, making sure that it was the highest quality possible, the best flavor profiles, the ones that we liked the most. We could put our name side of things, experimenting more with flavors, understanding more about flavor combinations and purposeful ingredients and quality ingredients as opposed to everyday things. Super fun and exciting, and I loved every second of experimenting and learning about that sort of thing. A lot of variables when it comes to coffee. The source, where different countries have different soils, different growing conditions, which influence the beans. The processing method of the beans themselves after they're picked off the tree influences the flavor. The amount of water that they get that year versus another year can influence the flavor. But then even after that portion of it, of the actual growth of the bean, the processing, after it gets to us, there's a lot of different variables in the heat of the roasting, the time in which you roast it. You've obviously heard of lighter roasts and darker roasts, and so that either extracts different flavors or adds different flavors depending on how it's roasted. When you're dealing with things like single origins, which is more of a coffee that comes from a single place, generally a single farm, that is not blended in any way before you get it, it has potential for very specific flavors that can be pulled out. And so when you're looking to process those in the form of roasting, you try to err on the lighter side so that you don't overpower the flavor of the coffee by putting too much of the roast flavor. It's sort of like overcooking food. Starts to taste more like, if you burn something on a grill, it tastes more like charred, dark coal flavors, as opposed to if you maybe bake it in the oven or something and it doesn't get quite as caramelized, quite as dark, I guess. After we go through the process of experimenting with roasting it in different manners, with different amounts of heat applied, we'll pick a range where we think it tastes the best, and we'll kind of narrow it in by degree, taking samples out and then trying them to see what to us tastes the best and what the best flavors are. When it comes to the brewing side of things, there's lots of different ways to brew, obviously. So certain coffees taste better or at least different as a cold brew, and as opposed to what they would as pulled as an espresso shot, because of the concentration, because of the water temperature, because of the grind setting, because of all the different variables that go into it.
All right, today we're going to be making a pour-over coffee. So you're going to want hot water, your favorite cup, and your favorite pour-over method. Today we're going to be using a Kalita Wave. That is a flat bottom cone pour-over filter. So you want to start by making sure your water's hot, just off of boil. So you want to be around 200 degrees so you don't scald your coffee. And then for the first step, you're going to want to wet your coffee filter to get any particles out of there, and so that the water will distribute evenly. Once that is ready, you're going to put your favorite coffee in. We're using 25 grams of coffee to make 1 cup, which is about 3 tablespoons. And the first step in doing a pour over is you want to bloom the coffee, which is basically saturating all of the grinds so that the water will pour evenly when you're done. So we are going to do 50 grams, which is double the amount of coffee we put in, and then you want to let that soak for about 30 seconds just to make sure that everyone is equally wet inside there. The longest 30 seconds of my life. Alright, and then the next step is to do your first pour. So we're going to be doing 225 grams, or about half a cup. And you want to work your way around in circles and make sure that all of the grinds are evenly saturated. And then you will let that drip out for about a minute, minute and a half. I use a medium grind setting for pour overs. If you're finding that it's going a little too fast or a little too slow, you can adjust the grind setting a little bit to make that work out for the time frame that you like it. Right, and then the same amount for our second pour, 225 grams or half a cup. Starting on the outside, getting all those grains back down into the middle so that they continue to brew for this next step in the process. And then about another minute and a half, and our coffee will be brewed. Right. And when your coffee is done, you can add cream and sugar to taste. Alright, so today we're going to be brewing a French press. So you're going to want your hot water just off of boil, your French press itself, and then your grinds. You're going to want to grind kind of coarse for this one because you want to make sure that your grinds aren't able to slip through the mesh filter of your French press. Alright, so step one is you're going to put your grinds in your press. I'm using 50 grams to make a full French press. It's about half a cup. And you can do whatever you like that makes it taste good for you. And then the next step is you want to bloom your coffee. So the bloom is just getting it all saturated so that it will brew nicely and evenly. And you want to pour about double what you put in for coffee. So I'm going to use 100 grams. And you want to let that sit for about 30 seconds. In your French press, if it's quite deep like this one, you might want to swirl it around a little bit just to make sure it's all mixed together. Then after 30 seconds, we're going to do our first pour. So you're going to want to do about 500 grams, or halfway up. Doing the best you can to make sure the grains are all evenly saturated. So you might have to turn your press to get the other side. I'm going to go a little bit more because I want a lot of coffee today. Once that's full, I like to just gently sit my press on top to keep all the heat in because I like my coffee to stay hot. And we're gonna let that sit for a total of 4 minutes. So we'll come back in 2 more minutes and we'll finish. All right, so after about 4 minutes of letting your coffee steep, you're gonna want to press down slowly. Some people like to press down quickly, and that can cause your coffee to flow out of your spout and all over your counter. So I'm gonna press slowly. And it will get harder to press the further down it gets, and that's exactly what we want. All right, and your coffee is ready to serve it in your favorite way. So this is brewing cold brew in the Toddy Artisan Small Batch Cold Brewer. What happens with cold brew is that you kind of grind the coffee, steep it in cold water for a longer period of time to kind of reduce the acidity and give it a different, smoother flavor. So for this one in particular, it comes with a little paper filter. This is where you're going to place your coffee. You want to grind this kind of fine because it doesn't have the heat to help with the extraction, so you want to make sure that the particles are small enough that they can all get saturated. Plop this in here, and that is 2 ounces of coffee. Then you're going to add your cold filtered water. Get it saturated so it sits down in there. Twist it closed, and then add the rest of your water. This one's going to make a concentrate, so you'll be able to get twice as much out of it once you water it down and put milk in it, and you're good to go. Put that in your fridge for 24 hours. So after 24 hours, you can remove your coffee satchel. Let it drip out and then enjoy your cold brew.
We just had our 5-year anniversary over the summer of COVID, so we're coming up on 6 years.
And I noticed you have a lot of baked items over there. Do you make your baked goods in-house?
We do. We bake everything here in-house. We're baking probably about 10 to 12 different pastries right now, and then we're growing breads. We're doing sourdough baguettes. We are doing brioche. We're focusing on trying to grow the bread side of things as well as increase pastry production. We make our own bagels here, which are hugely popular. Right now we're in the throes of kicking out the coffee shop from this side, expanding to next door, pushing them over there, and the bakery will have a bigger space to grow and add more items and see how that goes. We hope to do potentially some breakfast and lunch items as well. And during the pandemic, we actually did pizza for a good clip to help boost business a little bit when it was getting slow, and that really kind of took off. We had a following for that, so it's another thing we're going to kind of navigate and push toward as we go. I don't know if the bakery will do it or if that will find another realm, but.
And do you have specialty items for people who have dietary restrictions here?
Well, our bagels are vegan. We have a sensitivity to try to meet a good amount of those demands. Maybe not fully in every capacity, but we do have the gluten-free brownies right now. They're made of almond flour, and we have as many milk alternatives as we can for vegans and lactose intolerant.
Okay, ready?
Yep.
Take 2.
What am I saying?
You're introducing yourself.
Don't judge me.
Do a little dance. Make a little love. Good dance, like that.
It's for our TikTok.
Well, I mean, I guess there's a lot to that. I'm gonna take a sip of it.
The longest 30 seconds of my life.
Through going through culinary school. Don't know why I just said that. He distracted me so much. I didn't go to culinary school. After, all right.
Nobody would have known.
I know. After.
Nice things. 3 minutes. Unless you want to stand there for 3 minutes, I'm out.
He's just a poor boy from a poor family. Bismillah. Okay, let's try.